Okay, so we are up to day 157 of going through my old journal, and the quote for today says, "The life of inner peace, being harmonious without stress, is the easiest type of existence." So it says, "Is peace your highest goal? If not, what is? How do you combat stress? Some say you can't put a price on peace. What do you say?" So if you're following along, just think about how you might respond to this. And let's read what I wrote. So I already feel like this is very, what's the word? This is kind of where I'm at right now. So I said yes in all capital letters. So, you know, I guess responding to "Is peace your highest goal?" I said I used to have different goals when I was younger, like education or career goals, but over the last couple of years, reducing stress and anxiety has been my biggest goal. I said it's mostly because it has to be my biggest goal. I was dealing with so much stress that it was hindering me from reaching other goals or even functioning properly. So it quite literally had to be my biggest goal. So yeah, I've mentioned this a couple times, like the end of really the end of 2021, like, was like a big breaking point for me. But when I think back, there had been like several other times that like kind of stress and anxiety had kind of taken over. And I realized that I kind of like have been living off of stress for most of my life. And now I've mentioned this before, but the more, like, even over these past couple of months since I've been reading these, I've been coming across more information about ADHD, and just different, like, I've been watching a lot of like videos with like therapists and psychiatrists talking about different things and how, you know, stuff in your past can have an impact on, you know, things in your future as you know, become an adult, and, you know, how certain things can explain like how you even acted as a kid. And I do think like ADHD explains like a lot of things about me and how I functioned throughout most of my life. And yeah, I think I just found my own ways to cope with ADHD. And most of that was like running on stress. Like I would wait until the last minute to do anything. And that didn't like take away. So I was like constantly stressed because I knew I had these things that I needed to do. I knew I needed to study, or, you know, but I was just always like, I don't know, putting stuff off to the last minute. And I couldn't motivate myself to do things until it was the last minute, until I had that adrenaline, until I had that stress that was pushing me to do it. And that got me by okay until, which I still didn't like how I was living. Like when I was working as a server, I would always like wait till the last minute to get ready for work. I was always just one of those people that just, from the outside, like maybe it didn't look like I was a mess, but I felt like I was constantly a mess. Like I felt like I was just always rushing, always running late, rushing to get ready, rushing to get to work. I rarely showed up late, but I was always in a rush to get there and just barely on time. I was not one of those people that would get there early. But yeah, like the time clock would be my, you know, motivation to get up and get ready for work because I have to be there. I have to clock in at this time. And I was always worried that I wouldn't be able to work a job that was self-paced because I'm like, I realized very early on that like I need the time clock, I need the boss, I need somebody there that's going to get on to me for not being there to motivate me to get there and be at work. And I think that's why I struggled so much whenever I was working as a research assistant, and I was always like waiting for deadlines to do my work. It wasn't like I was working consistently every day to get something done for my boss. It was kind of like if she told me I need this 2 weeks from now, I would wait until like a day or two before to start working on it. And then I felt like a terrible worker because I'm like, I should have been working on this whole time. Why am I not working on this? And so I'd be getting down on myself all the time, and I would be stressed even though I wasn't working on it, but I couldn't figure out like, why am I not? Why can I not do this? Why can I not just get this done? And I would just be down on myself all the time. And you know, in undergrad, it was fine. I was still, like, my brain was good enough to put something off till the last minute and not turn it, you know, work on it right before the deadline and get it done. And then in my master's program, I was still pretty much able to do that, but there was a couple times that yeah, it just got really way too overwhelming. But somehow I was still able to do it. But then, yeah, the PhD, I really, really had to, it was hard. And then it all came to a head in 2021. Really, 2020 was a mess, but I had kind of an out in 2020. Like, everybody kind of gave everyone some lenience because of, you know, everything that was going on with the pandemic. And, yeah. But it's weird because even though I'm not like getting treatment for ADHD, I haven't officially been diagnosed with ADHD. Just recognizing that I have that and recognizing why I am the way that I am, that, you know, my brain works differently from other people, and I have to like really find these different ways to get myself motivated, has really helped me to get better on track. And so, yeah, like, I don't think I've ever like not been stressed until more recently. And so once I have found ways to deal with that, and I do feel like what not, and I have had the experience of feeling like what not being stressed feels like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels so much better than how I have been living my whole life. And so it has kind of become my goal to not be stressed, because I just think I didn't know what it was like to not just constantly be in a state of stress. And so now my goal is like, okay, you need to get it together and build habits and do things to where you're not just stressed all the time, because it just was too overwhelming. Anyway, let me get back to this. Yeah, so I said over the past several months, I feel like I've been building habits that help to bring peace. I said some of this has been aided by, okay, so like I said, I haven't been treated for ADHD, but I've been, like, not officially, but I've been finding ways to kind of self-medicate, and I have been my whole life. Like, I think I've been self-medicating with caffeine. I've always been, like, addicted to sodas, and, so I said, this has been aided by medication to help me wake up and sleep. So, this is gonna sound bad, but I discovered that Excedrin, but it's because it has caffeine in it. I could take Excedrin in the morning to kind of like get my brain going, and that seemed to work better than like a soda or even like caffeine pills. For some reason, Excedrin was really, I'd never really tried caffeine pills, but I felt like I could take an Excedrin and it would kind of help get my brain going in the morning and get me motivated. And then I had been taking Tylenol PM at night, and like I resisted doing that, but now I'm just kind of like, well, it helps my brain shut off, because my whole life I was always one of those people that even if I went to bed at a certain time, it would be hours before I would fall asleep. I would just be laying in bed, just my brain would not shut off. And so yeah, like Tylenol PM helps me go to sleep. And now whenever I wake up, even if I'm feeling groggy, I don't take Excedrin anymore. What I've been taking is a pre-workout. And so like I've been getting up and going to the gym, and so I guess something that motivates me to go to the gym is like, okay, I'm going to take this pre-workout, and then the pre-workout does have caffeine in it, in it, but it gets me moving and going to the gym. And it's kind of like once I get my day rolling, then I can, you know, kind of roll better into it. And more recently, I have started taking caffeine pills because I was doing this workout program, and for like the last couple of weeks, they had like the supplement list, and caffeine was like an optional one. I'm like, let me give it a try. And so yeah, I know this is probably not like the best or not what's the healthiest thing to do, but it's helped me immensely. At some point I want to try to get off of like the supplements and everything. But for now, it's what's working for me, and it seems to have helped me. So I don't necessarily recommend it, but you know, in the US this stuff is over the counter, so it's what I've been doing, and it's been helping me. So yeah, so I go on to say, while I'd rather not be reliant on drugs, they've been instrumental in setting me on the right path. So yeah, like going to bed early, waking up early has been one thing that's helped. Going to the gym, and not only just going to the gym, but going to the gym, and then I also force myself to read for 30 minutes while I'm on the treadmill. And so that kind of helps me get my brain going to study. So I'm like, because 30 minutes is like, I'm like, okay, I can do it for 30 minutes. Like, even though I don't necessarily want to read most of the days, I'm like, just do it for 30 minutes. And then that kind of helps get my brain going for work. So yeah, it's just little habits like that. So number one, going to bed early, getting enough sleep, waking up. And these are all things that everybody says like to do, but I've just never done it. I've just always thought like, well, I'm the type of person that stays up late, but you can change that. Well, I changed it with pills, but you know, whatever. But it has seemed to make things better. And let's see. So they've been instrumental, and it says, and since I'm not taking anything too extreme, I'm pretty confident I'll be able to wean myself off once I'm finished with school and have less pressure to perform at such high levels. I value my rest and have been having much more occasions where I do feel at peace lately. I can't wait to graduate so I can feel peace more often. So yeah, at least I hope so. At least I hope that getting done with my PhD will bring me more peace. And like I said, like the PhD definitely added more stress, but looking back, even when I wasn't like in degree programs, even when I wasn't in school, because I've taken some gaps between my different degrees and stuff, I still wasn't not stressed, you know, because I was always like, it was either going to work or feeling stress of like, I'm not doing anything. Why am I not motivated to do anything? So I'm hoping that after I finish, I will still keep this habit of like getting up early and being productive and feeling like I'm, you know, not wasting my life away, I guess. But I will say one other thing, and people, I've only told like a few people, well, I made a video about it, but a while back, but nicotine has helped me too. So I think at this point, whenever I wrote this, I don't think I was using nicotine yet. It was just the caffeine and the Tylenol PM, but or the Excedrin and the Tylenol PM. But nicotine really like changed my life too, because I feel like, especially when it comes to doing like schoolwork or when I really need to focus and write, because that was what I was having a lot of trouble with. If it was like straightforward, meticulous things, once I got started on those, I could usually like do them pretty well. But now a lot of my work and school is transitioning into, you have to read and you have to research and you have to write. And I would struggle so much, like unless it just like hit at the right time, or unless I did have that deadline pressing, I was having such a hard time like writing and doing all these things I needed to do for my job. But I had read some stuff on nicotine and you know, people with ADHD and it helping people focus, and I thought, you know, let me give it a try. And my parents had always smoked, and you know, you had it ingrained in your head that like smoking is bad. which equated to nicotine is bad because it's addicting. But I just thought, I was to a point where I'm like, I just need something. I just need to try something, and let me give this a try. And I did. I got like the low dose nicotine gum, and it did help. So like whenever I'm gonna sit down and I need to get work done, actually I have some in my mouth right now, because it does seem to like just make my brain work better, I think, and be able to focus and have, you know, whatever. And so now I'm thinking back and wondering, like, I think both of my parents actually probably had ADHD, and I think that's why they were so addicted to nicotine and caffeine. Like my mom was constantly drinking coffee and smoking. My dad, not as much on the coffee, but definitely like always had to have nicotine. He quit smoking for a while, but he was always on like the Nicorette gum. And so yeah, like I don't want to be on nicotine all the time, and I haven't really felt like an addiction to it. Like I don't feel like I have to do it all day every day, but when especially like it gives me a peace of mind, because almost every time, if I, you know, when you feel that brain fog and you're like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna get this work done, how am I gonna, like, you know, I really need to write today and my brain's just not in it. Some days my brain is in it and I don't need any nicotine, I don't need anything, and I can just like find the motivation myself to write, but it's not consistent. And so I have this peace of mind that, you know, if I have this day that I have brain fog, used to I would get really stressed because I'd be like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to force myself to work? But now I don't get that stress because I'm like, it's okay. Even if my brain's not feeling focused or good right now, I can take some nicotine gum and it'll at least get me jump started. Because usually once I get jump started to go, then I can just roll from there. But it's that getting over that hump to get started. So yeah. So, which is crazy because like people seem like nicotine and caffeine are like stimulants that might make people more stressed, and I think for some people that does happen, but for me it's like brought me more peace for now. So yeah, this went off the rails in terms of like what this quote was really about, because you would think, you know, peace, and then I'm talking about stimulants and stuff, but it has helped me to bring me peace, because I know, and I don't know if that's how people with ADHD who are diagnosed who have Adderall, I don't know if they feel like that, if they feel like, oh my gosh, I have this work to do, but it's okay, I have my medication, I can take my Adderall and I'll be able to focus and function at work. I don't know if that's how, you know, people would feel like that with Adderall, but that's kind of how I'm feeling with nicotine right now. And I'm kind of glad that I'm not dependent on Adderall, because like I've never taken it. Like I did once, like I dated a guy that had Adderall and I was having to like drive home pretty late, and he gave me one to kind of help keep me awake. And I didn't really feel like, I don't know, I've never really like used it, so I don't know how it would affect me, but yeah, I feel like nicotine is working for me, and there's currently like an Adderall shortage, so I feel bad for all these people who have ADHD if they're not able to get their Adderall, because I feel like if that helps them function like nicotine does for me, they've got to be super stressed about like getting their work done. But anyway, that's my talk on that. So I just want to say again, like I don't necessarily recommend using, like ideally I would like to be able to self-motivate and sleep and do all this stuff without help, but for now this is what's working for me. So yeah, when I finish my PhD, I would like to get back more into like a natural thing, but for now that's what's helping to bring me peace, like developing habits and just trying to stay more on track. And you know, I've lots of other things, to-do lists and things like that have helped too, but yeah, anyway, that's what I have for that. I will be back tomorrow with day 157.